Do you have any superstitions? Do you ever wonder if superstitions actually work? Well, today on Mysteries, Mysteries, you're going to find out a little bit more about that. I am MysterE. This is Mysteries, Mysteries, and we are here to discuss all things mysterious in the world of psychology. About 10 or 15 years ago, there was this player from the Seattle Seahawks. His name was Marshawn Lynch, and he was an absolute character. He was a running back. He was really, really good, and he was really, really quirky. But one of the things that the fans and the media caught on to is that he always ate Skittles during the game. And this actually, what they found out was that way back when he was in youth football, his mom would give him a bag of Skittles before every game. And he started to believe that those Skittles are what made him play great. Now, there is glucose and fructose in Skittles, so there is some energy boosting in Skittles. But ultimately, what it came down to is he started to believe that him eating Skittles made him play better. So the entire Seattle community, all of the Seahawks NFL football fans, they would start throwing him Skittles during games, and people would be eating Skittles, and it was this huge rage. They had an interview with him talking about Skittles, and it was just this big thing. And it got me wondering, okay, so we have this Skittle machine, and he believes that he plays better when he is eating Skittles. Could that be placebo effect? So, looking into it, when you look at placebo effect, a placebo is anything that, in an experimentation, it would be a sugar pill or a saline injection that is supposed to mimic an actual medicine of some sort. And it's supposed to have some sort of impact on your health and well-being. So what these Skittles served, they served as a placebo to Marshawn. And simply because he thought that he would perform better while he was eating those Skittles, he actually did. And there is some truth to that. So when people have these superstitions, if they don't perform these superstitions, they actually can perform worse. And it's not just because they didn't do the superstition, that there's some sort of magical connection between them. That's not the case at all. What it is you just have an expectation. If you follow the superstition, you have an expectation that you're going to play well. If you don't follow a superstition, you have an expectation that you're not going to do well. Well, that's the same way that it is in science. A hilarious story from up in my part. At this big university, there was a fraternity. And the fraternity would put on a party for first-year college students. And this was back in my day and age where there weren't as many rules as there are today. They would have a party for these first-year college students, and they would have kegs of beer. And they would bring the first-year students in. They would all, chip in $2 or $3, however much was, and they could drink as much of beer as they wanted. But the deal is the frat kept all of the first-year students there for 3 hours. They could not leave. They had to give them their car keys if they drove. People would monitor the door. They would make sure that everybody was okay. After 3 hours of drinking and partying and music and dancing, you would have these first-year students, the typical drunken college response. They would be dancing. They would be putting their arms around each other. They would be throwing up. They would be passed out. They would lack all of these inhibitions to do crazy things, but not too crazy. After the 3 hours, the frat would shut off the music. They would turn on all the lights, and they would make an announcement. And the announcement was the beer that they had been drinking was non-alcoholic. They actually were drinking no alcohol whatsoever. But because they had such a powerful expectation of what they were going to experience from this college party, drinking beer, they were immediately thrown into this lack of inhibition, crazy behaviors, even to the point of a physiological response to the alcohol, such as throwing up, being dizzy, staggering, slurring their words. The problem with this experiment is that because the placebo effect was so present, that even after they were told that it was placebo, students were still exhibiting signs of drunkenness. So ultimately, the fraternity had to stop doing that party. So that is the power of the placebo effect. It's crazy what our expectations, what our brain can do for us. The second one I have is much more serious. And this was during World War II. For those of you that don't know, during World War II, there's a pain medication called morphine that was given to soldiers who were critically injured, that were in severe pain, that were dying, that sort of thing. And this morphine, which served as an opiate, which latches onto our opiate receptors, mimics endorphins, and it helps pain to go away. Endorphins are a natural pain relief system. It's a kind of a neurotransmitter, but that's our natural pain reliever. So we'd be given morphine. These soldiers would be given morphine to help to alleviate some of their severe pain. And morphine was vital to just to help these soldiers cope. Well, many of you know, like during World War II, some of these battles were really, really gruesome. And so many people were injured that they would actually run out of morphine. So what the Army medics, what the service medics did is they actually replaced morphine because they would be running out of it. They would save the morphine for the soldiers that they felt that needed it the most, and then the other ones they would be injecting them with saline solution, which is technically a placebo. It should have no effect on you, or they would be giving them drinks of saline or tablets of sugar pills. But they would tell them that it was morphine. And so it was not any sort of drug that should have any impact on them whatsoever. But these soldiers, what would happen is they would have this expectation that they should be experiencing pain relief. And 80% of the time, these soldiers actually experienced a fairly profound amount of pain relief. And pain relief so much so that they could be able to deal with some pretty horrible injuries. And what psychologists and scientists believe is that what happened is the brain tricked the body into believing that it was feeling better, and the brain actually released a ton of endorphins at that time to help relieve some of that pain. So once again, that's a really powerful example of the placebo effect. Now, I did a podcast on experimentation. We talked a little bit about this, but I want to talk now about the placebo effect and experimentation and how necessary it is. Because of these false expectations, because of this belief that we should feel better just by taking a pill, scientists have to take that into consideration when they are doing these very large controlled experiments. So what they do is they have a control group and they have an experimental group. The experimental group is the one that's going to get the actual medication. So again, if you're like doing a medication on migraine headaches, they would be getting the pills that are supposed to curb migraine headache pain. The control group would be getting the placebo. So they would be getting the sugar pill. Okay. The pill that should have no any sort of physiological implication on pain relief whatsoever. The key to this is that the subjects, the samples that were randomly assigned to the experimental group or control group, so randomly placed in these two groups, they were part of at least a single blind experiment where they didn't know what group they were going to be placed in. So when they went into this experiment, they did not know if they were part of the experimental group or the control group. So they didn't know if they were getting the actual pill or the placebo. Therefore, any sort of statistical significance, any sort of significant amount of pain relief should be coming from the actual pain medication in the real drug that was given to the experimental group. The control group, their responses, although they may have some pain relief, it should be much less. And then what scientists and psychologists and experimenters do is they compare the pain relief. If the experimental group has a significant more amount of pain relief, the medicine works. If the control group is similar to the experimental group, then what they need to do is they need to look, okay, so is this drug worth the price? Is this drug worth the manufacturing? Is it statistically significant enough to make a difference in this pain relief? And if it's not, then they go back to the drawing board and they go back to their research and development and they try to make the drug better. But that way, what they can do is they can take into consideration the placebo effect. So to summarize, the placebo effect is, a false sense of expectation that you're going to feel better by taking some sort of medicine or some sort of pill. Oftentimes, it can be tied to superstitions, that expectation that you're going to do well because you put your left sock on first. There's all sorts of different ones, but the placebo effect is very, very powerful, and scientists definitely have to take that into consideration when they're doing experimentation. So, again, I'm Mr. E. This is Mr. E's Mysteries. Hey, make sure you follow us on any place you can find podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating, help boost us up there. Feel free to drop us an email if you have a superstition that you've ever experienced and you're like, swear that it works. Hey, we'll talk to you about it. A big thank you to Unify Agency and my producer director, Bear Wade, on all things that he does for us. Hey, thank you all so much. And make sure you follow us on TikTok, all that stuff, YouTube Reels, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, have a great day. See ya.